Hi fellow creatives, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm super excited to be sharing with you this interesting tutorial on how to create this enchanting off-shoulder A-line shift dress. As the name implies, it features an off-shoulder cape with an inbuilt elastic that allows for a snug fit. It also features an inbuilt pocket that allows you to store valuables. It exudes charm and comfort, as you can see. It offers both style and ease, and ideal for any special occasion or an everyday wear. You can make it for yourself as an adult, your kids, and even for clients to make money. So whatever you wish to do with your knowledge is valid. Sit back and enjoy this process of creating this adorable dress. Okay, let's get right into it. We'll start by looking at the materials needed for this tutorial, starting from the fabric to chalk. So I fold my fabric of choice wrong face out. I mark it using a chalk, and then I place my already prepared pattern on the fabric like so. I pin down to avoid any shift while cutting. Okay, if you want to learn how to make this simple pattern, please check or click the link here. Okay, so I cut out my fabric using the pattern placed. This is actually the front, and we have the dart inbuilt. I did not actually make a back pattern for this pattern, so I placed this same pattern on another folded fabric like so, and then I cut out the back. I'll be letting you in on the major difference between the front and back much later in the tutorial. So I cut out the back this way, and then I will show you a little how you can achieve your back, but I will explain better later. Now I will go right ahead and just fold in my dart and mark the armhole depth of the back, and then I'll blend it in like so. Okay, now I cut out and trim out the armhole. Now when you place it back, you can see that it's actually of different length. Now I go over to my cape. My cape measures 27.5 while on fold by 7-inch. Okay, so when you open it up, that will give you 55 inches. Our pocket will be 28 inches by 13. I fold over and then fold over again just to get 4 pieces. Okay, so I measure down by 7-inch, and then I go in by 2 inches before making my pocket curve, and then I curve my pocket on the upper edge like so. Now using my scissors, I cut out the pocket like so. You can see it's in duplicate now. Okay, so I put this aside, and then we have all our patterns. Now next is my elastic band. I'm using a 0.5 inch, and then I need only 27 inches for this purpose. Okay, now let's look very closely at the patterns. We have the front and back. Now the major difference between the front and back is that the back pattern came out is wider by 0.5 inch. And remember, I measured my armhole depth by folding in the dart, and then that gives me the depth of my back armhole, because we will eventually sew out the darts during the tutorial. Now I snip the dart legs like so. Okay, and then I take out my pattern. I remove the pins. I take out my pattern. I note the measurement of the dart, which gives me 6.5, and then I fold out the dart, making sure both dart legs meet. Okay, I fold out the dart. Next, I place it on the table and iron it. Now I iron it like so, and then remember the dart we measured on the pattern is 6.5, but here I'll be taking out a dart of 5 inch. Why? Because darts do not vanish at the bust apex. Okay, so I measure out 5 inch on both ends like so. Using my clear ruler, I rule out the dart to meet the dart legs. Okay, and then I will take it over to the sewing machine and sew this out. Now I carefully start from the dart leg and sew out my dart, making sure that I get a pencil edge. Now I sew out my dart very nicely. And then I go over again to the ironing board. You can see my dart is neatly sewn. So I go over to the board and then I iron the dart. Okay, so I iron it down this way. And then I turn over to the right side and give it a nice press again. Now I bring the back and face the right side over the right side of the front. Now we have both side seams exactly equal. Okay, and this is what I was trying to explain earlier. Now the both sides of both front and back are equal. I pin together and then I take it over to the sewing machine to stitch out 1 inch sewing allowance. Okay, when I'm done sewing out the sewing allowance, I'll be fixing the pocket as well. Now our pocket will be starting from 8.5 inches down from the armhole. I snip this point 8.5 inches and then I fold over to the other side and mark the same point on the other side, just so that both pockets will be starting from the same point. Okay, so I'll go over to the sewing machine now and stitch out the sewing allowance and then fix the pockets. Now I place and sew out 1 inch from both sides of my dress. And I'm done with sewing out the sewing allowance. I'll go right ahead and mark the wrong face of the pockets like so. And then I fold and stitch all the open ends of the pocket, leaving out about 1.5 inch from beginning of the pocket entrance. Okay, like so. I sew out and close all open ends, starting with the upper side of both pockets. Now this allowance we are leaving at the edge will help us with the placement onto the dress. Now make sure to leave this allowance before closing up the edges. I do the same for the second pocket as well, ending before the allowance. Now after doing this, I trim out all the threads like so, and then open up the seam allowance, and taking note of the 8.5 inch mark, I remove my pins and open up all the seam allowance, and then do the same for the pocket as well. The 1.5 inch we left earlier while sewing out the pocket. Now you place it starting from exactly where we snipped on the dress. Now you fix the pocket onto the dress using a 1/2 inch allowance. Now I turn to the other side and then sew. Sew the pinned edges like so. Now I do the same for the other pocket as well. Go ahead and do the same for the other pocket. Now starting from the other, a little above the seam allowance, I sew and reinforce the stitches and close up the 1.5 inch allowance we left earlier while sewing out the open ends of the pocket. Now you can decide to do this after fixing separate pockets, but I always prefer it this way just to keep me in check. Okay, so now I sew and reinforce the stitch, but note that I did not sew over the previous stitch again because we'll be taking that out later after we are done with the dress. Now I repeat the same procedure for the other pocket, like so. Don't forget to reinforce and close up the open ends. Now after doing this, I will be hemming the edge of my armhole. I'll be hemming the armhole using a black bias. I place the bias on the right face like so, and then stitch around it like so. After this, I'll just turn the bias over to the wrong face and then stitch down. Now I repeat this for the second armhole. Now before going over to iron, I'll quickly stitch close the cape, the loose end of the cape, using a 1/2 inch allowance like this. And then I move over to the ironing board and iron out the armhole neatly. Press the armhole and steam so that it lays flat like this. Now use this opportunity to iron out all I've done previously. Now the sides, the sides I place like this to neatly iron, but note that I've not opened the pockets at this point. Now I hem also. I mark 2 inches off the hem and then fold in like this. Fold in neatly 2 inches in from the hem. I iron it when I'm satisfied with my fold. Iron it neatly while steaming, and then fold in the selvage again like this. Now you don't need to do this if you've already weaved the raw edges of your fabric, okay? But I've not weaved and I hate to see the selvage, the write-ups on the selvage, so I'll just go ahead and fold in. That's why I actually left 2 inches. But if yours is weaved, you don't need to fold up to 2 inches, because man, that's quite a lot. So you fold in like this and then iron out. When I'm done doing this, I just make sure this is properly done, and then I turn over to the upper side, iron again, and then open up. Now the open edges reveals the wrong face. I mark 1 inch down from the edge. You can see I mark 1 inch down from the edge of the neckline, the off-shoulder neckline, like so. Now I bring my cape, iron, open up the seam allowance, 1/2 inch seam allowance like so, and then turn over and iron again. Now I turn to the right side. Take note of the middle. This becomes our front, and then the part we joined becomes our back. Now I place the cape I fix the cape like this, wrong face meeting the wrong face, and then right face on right face. Okay, so placing it this way, I flip over again and then I stitch a little so that when I flip over, the right face will be on the right face of the dress. Okay, I don't know if you get that, but I'll still repeat it for the front. Okay, so you can see after flipping, right face will be on the right face. Now I repeat the same for the front. Remember, we marked the middle of our cape. Now I mark the middle of the neckline, and then I place wrong face on the wrong face, and then I flip over because I'm yet to weave the raw edges. But if you've weaved the raw edges, you can just place it like I did at first. You don't need to flip over again. Now I pin down like so, and then this is what you get when you're done sewing. Now I take it over to the sewing machine, and then I stitch around the pinned part. Now I stitch just a little, like 1/4 of an inch all around the placement around the neckline. Now I do the same. You can see how tiny the stitch I made, just to hold it and conceal the raw edges. That's all. No much detailed sewing. Okay, now this is the back. I do the same for the front. I stitch down with 1/4 of an inch just around the part I marked with chalk. Okay, I trim all the threads and then I take it over again to my ironing table. Now we iron out the cape like so. Iron it very nicely, flat on the board, and then fold and create a 1-inch tunnel through which our elastic band will be passing. Okay, turn to flip over to the front as well and fold, creating a 1-inch tunnel like so. Then the edges that do not follow the neckline, do the same like so. This time you'll notice that it's a bit wider than the part we've sewn, so we're going to fold in by 1/4 of an inch, because note that we did not stitch this part. Okay, so the part you stitched earlier onto the front and back neckline, you fold in like so while ironing. Okay, so I fold in this part and then I iron everything out, leaving a 1-inch tunnel like so. Fold in, when I'm done doing this, I'll just go ahead and pin after ironing. I'll pin like so and then take it to the sewing machine. But after stitching, I'll make sure I leave 2-inch allowance through which I'll pass my elastic band. Okay, so I'll stitch all around the folded edge like so, leaving a 2-inch allowance through which I'll be passing my elastic band. Okay, now I end my stitch. You can see I've left the 2-inch allowance for the elastic band. Okay, so I trim out my threads, the loose threads all around, and then I go ahead and stitch the hem as well. Remember, we folded the hem earlier, so I'll go ahead and just stitch out the hem like so, because it's already folded. Okay, so I give it a nice stitch. I haven't done this. Using my safety pin, I fix it onto the elastic band. Remember, our elastic band is 27 inches. I pass it through the 1-inch tunnel created. Okay, now pass it through the 1-inch tunnel like so. Keep pushing the safety pin while directing and spreading out the gathered fabric. Now, when I'm at the end of this opening, I'll remove my safety pin and then bring both ends of the elastic band together like so. Now I even out all the gathers and then stitch both ends of the elastic so that it can completely go in. Now stitch it using a sewing machine like this. Repeat the stitch again to ensure that it doesn't go apart. Now after stitching, I trim and then allow it to completely go in like so. You can see the elastic has gone in, but now you will notice that the loose end is still open. So I go over and still stitch it down. I close up the open end like this. Always trim out any loose thread to ensure that your finishing is neat. Now you can notice here that the selvage is still loose. Okay, so I fold the selvage with the right up in and then stitch it down as well all around the cape. I trim out my thread and then remember we have something left undone. Remember the pocket stitch, the initial stitch that ran across the opening of the pocket. I will rip it off so that it can allow entrance into the pocket. Now I rip off the seam like so. I do this for both pockets. Be careful with your seam ripper so that you don't hurt the fabric. Okay, seam rippers can be really sharp, so you ought to be careful while doing this. Now I rip off all the seams like this, and then I stitch down the sewing allowance around the pocket. Remember we joined the pocket onto the dress using a 1/2-inch sewing allowance. Now we'll top stitch this allowance just to hold it down. Okay, you can decide to do this or not, but I assure you it gives it a very good finishing. Okay, so I stitch it down like so, and then I repeat it for the other pocket as well. When I'm done doing this, that will be the end of this tutorial. Okay, so I hope you found this very valuable and inspiring. If this video has made an impact on you, please show your support as usual by liking, sharing and commenting down below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell so you are first to be notified when we post a new video. We come your way again. Keep creating and stay inspired. Bye.